Raptors fan Augustine and Jones back at it from Montreal at the UQAM campus, and the big news on site today at Raptors practice, Scottie Barnes is back. So without any further ado, let's get to the man right now. Scottie, how'd it feel to get back with the group today?
It felt great. They put in a lot of things, a lot of new concepts, some new plays. It was just very intentional. Just trying to put it in place, trying to get us right. But otherwise, it felt great.
Scottie, did you were you able to fit right in? Missing the first 4 days wasn't any kind of setback anyway?
For sure. We've been working hard all summer, working a lot together. Went to Miami, went to Spain. I've been working out with some of the guys just back in Toronto. So we fit right in. Get things right back where we started at. Fit right back in perfectly.
It's gonna be hard to sit out tomorrow night.
I wasn't here for a couple of days, so I think that's what's best. Our decision.
After you guys signed the contract, so there was a lot of talk about you and IQ and how you're going to work on the court. With all the time you spent together in Spain and Miami, what did you learn about him off the court maybe this summer that you didn't know before?
Me and IQ were real close. We connect from a different way. We play video games a lot together, so that helped us build our connection a lot. Just being able to talk all the time. We join the parties, just talk about random things, and that brings us together in so many ways.
His first opportunity to speak to the media here in Montreal, and the news, no IQ, no Scottie Barnes come our first preseason game against Washington Sunday night. It shouldn't be a surprise, but how does it impact this team as it moves forward, knowing that those two guys, and you add in RJ, are kind of the core of this group moving forward?
Well, I think that's obvious to everybody, and I think you watch their development, but even with a good, solid core on any team, even a championship team, you need the support players to really know their roles and really understand what they have to do. And on Sunday night, without Scottie and without IQ, it gives some of the other guys a chance to play more. It gives them a chance probably to play within their roles for the most part and step outside of them a little bit, but it establishes some time for them. And, they always say that when you have some of your better players out of the lineup and the other people coming in have to move up a notch, and then you reinsert your better players, those other guys are more confident. They know what they can do. And your better players watching those guys perform feel more confident in playing with them and trust them more. So, that happens with every team over the course of the season. It's getting a bit of a jump start right here in Toronto. But to Scottie's point, they've been working together all summer. He talked about the training camp, the time in Vegas, the time in Spain, the time in Miami. Training camp is just another extension of that as you get ready to hit the season.
And the season is about to hit, and for Darko, it's time to make those final adjustments and maybe play around with the roster a bit. We talked to him about exactly what he's going to do without Scott and IQ.
Is it nice to have number 4 back and getting him reacquainted with guys?
Absolutely. Scottie joined us this morning over here for a practice. Brought a lot of energy, a lot of intensity to the practice. It was great seeing him over here. All his teammates very excited for him, and they're giving him full support.
Do you expect him or IQ to play tomorrow?
No. He just joined us today. He will be with the team. He's going to do extra work in the morning. He'll be with the team and support the team, but tomorrow is going to be too early for him to get him in the game.
And IQ won't?
Not yet.
Okay.
No, not yet.
Darko, would you say it's all a setback that you've been missing IQ and Scottie through this week and through the first exhibition game?
Not necessarily. I think it was really opportunity to see some other guys and some other guys to get opportunities. Those guys, they put a lot of work this summer. They fit in, Scottie fit in practice today greatly. I expect same thing with Quick when he comes back. I think it's setting us up for success. So it's going to just allow us to have more guys comfortable in their roles.
For the first exhibition game, how are you going to distribute your lineup, or how many people are you going to try and get in? What's the mindset for that?
I don't foresee anybody playing more than 22 minutes in a game. We're going to play a lot of guys, give a lot of guys opportunities, look at the different lineups, continue working on our execution. It's opportunity for us to improve and get better. Tomorrow is going to be our first shoot around for this group, so they need to learn what it looks like to get on the bus, go to the shoot around, what shoot around looks like, what they need to memorize regarding a game plan. It's going to be a new experience especially for rookies going into their first game.
So the word is out, 20 to 22 minutes for each player that's going to get the opportunity to play.
Buy a program then. Right? If you're watching a game, buy a program.
So you know who's on the floor. But talk to me about the impact that has on these guys, knowing that you're going to get a substantial amount of playing time to make an impression, because oftentimes you go into training camp and you don't know if that door is going to open for you to walk through.
Well, guys have to prove it in practice, and then you earn the time in the game. And as Darko said, giving everybody that kind of time, he's going to take a look at everybody under game situations. It's different, as they say, when the popcorn is popping and the lights are on. You've got to be able to perform. So a lot of guys are going to get a chance to do that. So it'll be interesting to see what combinations Darko uses, how he uses guys in certain situations, in what roles they play. So, it's all up for discussion and all up for observation on Sunday.
Kicking it with my guy, Eric Smith. We are 2 days into camp. Tell me exactly how the Raptors are going to do, and I want the record down to the wins and losses.
All right, I'll tell you this. I don't know if I can give you the exact record, but you tell me. I'm going to throw it back to you a little bit. Oh, no. At the risk of sounding like I'm pulling out the purple or the red or the black, whatever color pom-poms we're using these days, when I heard Masai Ujiri mention the other day the term rebuild, traditionally I think a lot of people might think, oh, that means like the team's really going to struggle, and okay, that might end up being the case, but I think a rebuild can also happen on the fly. And I think when you look at a core that has R.J. Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley and Jakob Poeltl and obviously Scottie Barnes, and then you look at some other pieces around those guys, whether they're starting coming off the bench, and Grady Dick and Kelly Olynyk and Ochai Agbaji and Davion Mitchell, you start looking at that and go, hold on a second. I don't think this is a 20-win team. Is it a 30-win team? Is it a 35-win team? And then I look, and hopefully I get these teams correct, when I look at Washington and Chicago and Charlotte and Atlanta and Detroit and Brooklyn. I just rhymed off 6 there. If you threw the Raptors into that mix and say, okay, maybe they're not a top 5 team, but I don't think they're a bottom 5 team, that puts you in the conversation to at the very least be a play-in team. And that to me then is a rebuild on the fly that's kind of going. So I think that this team has an opportunity. I know I'm giving you a really long-winded answer here and not giving you a number, but if you end up being somewhere in that 33, 35, 38, can you get to 500? If you're somewhere in that mix, you're in the conversation for the playoffs. And suddenly now, that to me is a good thing, because the young core of this team is getting the potential playoff experience, or at least playing relevant games through the season, as opposed to just being somebody that's down in the dumps and playing meaningless games and never really learning. And that's where nobody wants to be.
Yeah,
does that make sense?
Absolutely. And the question was more of a joke and a commentary on the fact that it's the second day of camp.
Segment's over. Thanks.
And we are looking at the team pretty intensely at this point in time. But you hit a huge fact. Like, with the flattening of the draft lottery, the bottom 7 teams pretty much have a plus 30% chance of, getting a top 5 pick. Mm-hmm. So Masai starts a rebuild. You don't usually start a rebuild with an IQ, an RJ, and a Scottie. So you're absolutely right. But with that all being said, give us the tone of this camp, knowing that it's the second camp for Darko and the first camp with a lot of these key pieces.
I think the tone so far from what I've seen is just locked in defensively, and a serious tone, as it should be, in any team's camp. But I think when you're talking about trying to teach young players the game, I think that a team like this needs to find an identity, and I think an identity can certainly be found in being a tough out on any given night. We're going to battle you. Whether we ultimately win or lose, we're going to make it tough on you every single night. Heck, we can go back to, seeing as it's the 30th anniversary season, year 1, that was one of the mantras of the team. We might not be great, we might not win a ton of games, but we're going to make you remember us, and we're going to remember that playing the Raptors was a tough thing. And I think that's what the tone that Darko's trying to set right now, and I think that he has the personnel overall to be that type of team, to be a club that's really going to grind and get into you on most nights.
All right, now to get Jonesy's take on this peculiar Washington Wizards team. They re-signed Kuzma, right? So he's there for big money, but you look around at the rest of the roster, and it doesn't really make sense. And they're part of that 6-team group that's vying for some of these exceptional talents in the upcoming draft. So assess this team that we're going to be playing Sunday night.
They're playing capture the flag like everybody else, right, so to speak. Listen, it was a difficult year for the Wizards last year. It was. And as you said, Kuzma's a guy they'll look at it as a leader. And
Or a trade piece.
And it was a tough year for Jordan Poole, coming to Washington from Golden State, moving from a championship team to a team where he was expected to provide certain things, and that's an adjustment. It's also an adjustment for a young player that was moving and then stepping into a new role. So he's a guy that I think you focus on. And then the youth, Koulibaly's in his second year, Sarr, the number 2 overall pick. In a way, they're like the Raptors in a sense that they're looking for a core. The Raptors have theirs a little bit more established, but Washington's looking for that. And it'll be interesting to see again who plays with whom and in what combinations with what groups and for how long. So, again, everything's up for observation on Sunday night.
The Poole situation is a peculiar one for me because there's a young man that has a tremendous amount of self-confidence, and then it gets shot, and will we see the same player ever again? All right, that's it for us. The shot clock has gone off. Do remember the Toronto Raptors take the Washington Wizards on Sunday night from the Bell Center in Montreal. 7:30 tip. I hope they don't bail me out again. That's it. Let's get out of here, Jonesy. Let's go.